What's up, Doug? Thanks for coming by today. Do you like the new podcast room? The last one
I do. I very much like it.
You're in the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the space.
Same room, but
space, but a different.
It's a little bit more comfortable.
It's a vibe, yeah, different thing.
You almost feel like you gotta have a cocktail in your hand, but it's only 10:30.
Yeah, it's like Club Restraint.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of things have changed since the last time you've been here. You bought a new real estate company. You just bought a new escrow company.
Well, like we were talking. Excuse me while I get comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes. As I was just saying a little bit ago, I don't know if that was on camera or not, but in reality, to expand, you're always looking for opportunities, and you have to take, and there's no nice way to say it, you got to go take market share.
Yeah.
So I saw an opportunity to buy an agency, and because of some play in the market and some management changes, and I swooped in and bought Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Champions, who has an office in Riverside and Redlands. Picked up 80 sales associates and broker associates, and some top people in town, and it's allowed us to merge Shepherd Realty Group into that and change completely over to the Better Homes and Gardens model and set of tools, and I'm really excited about it. I have a lot of quality people. That's what I was really looking for. And then along with that came some great locations and some spaces. And then the Better Homes and Gardens, frankly, I'm really impressed. I've been a franchisee of 3 or 4 different franchises, and I'm really impressed. I've gotten more support out of this organization in the first 90 days than I did out of others in 6 years. So.
It's crazy how you just kind of have to bounce around a little bit and find the place that actually takes care of you.
Well, I mean, we're all small business people. Yeah. I mean, every agent, all 100 of my agents are small business people. It's Mary Realtor. Yeah. It's John Jones Realtor. And those businesses exist as an entity, but they align each individual, and you make decisions in your business, and each individual makes a decision about who they should align with. And we as brokers have a set of tools and support systems, and that's what I offer. And if that matches what you need at the time, then that's it. I am under no illusion that they're going to stay with me for years, although I've had agents. I have several that have been with me. I have one guy that's been with me 30 years throughout all the machinations that I've been involved in. So, but some of these people have stayed with the previous management team for years. So it all depends on what we're offering and how we do that, and if we can support their business. And that is the key to the brokerage. If I can support your individual business with the tools and the programs that I supply, then the individual agent makes that decision every day. Every day they make that.
Do you think we were just talking about the market that we're going into? Obviously, we're seeing a shift since the last time we've talked, and with rates going up and inventory still low and blah blah blah. Do you think this is going to be the time where a lot of agents start shifting around? That we're doing kind of the easy 12 deals a year, and now that it's getting harder, they're going to start looking for another place. Did you see that last time the market shifted?
I've seen it every time. When I started in the business, it was 120, and this was in 1983, 4. There was 120,000 realtors, not licensees, actual dues-paying realtors, which we're going to talk about why that's important. But 120,000. Now there's 230,000 realtors in the state of California.
Isn't that crazy? And then we have the most in the United States, I think, by state.
We're the largest trade organization. But also remember the National Association of Realtors has 1.4 million. We are the largest trade organization in the world. And with that comes a lot of influence and responsibility. But we'll talk more about that. But back to this thing. People come and go in this business all the time. The reality is that you say that the average, the person doing 12, 70% of the people in this business do 2 transactions or less. That is one of the issues with 2 things: why the professionalism of the industry, and 2, it's tough to be profitable in a business like this when your competition is doing 1 and 2, pulling it out of your market share, onesies and twosies at a time. Here's that number that there's 120,000 realtors in 1986, and now there's 230. The staggering number is that there is not more transactions per number than there were in 1986. We are not growing the pie. There are not more transactions happening.
It's the same.
More people are doing the same number, and we've talked about this before, that the top, that's why this business is so it's so great, is that above average effort, above average skill, above average effort gets you more.
Well, so it's crazy. Like I was telling someone, I made a video, and I'm like, we do the same in Riverside County. We've done the same amount of transactions.
Yes.
Every single year.
Yes.
Market's high. We do this.
Yes.
It's between 2,000 to 3,500.
Yes.
Per year, every single year. We saw one dip when the market really tanked out.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's the same every
number.
year. It's the same number every year.
So what does that really mean to the industry and to the homeowner? The homeowners have more choices than they ever have. They have more models than ever have.
Yeah.
From your model to my model, which is a traditional, big corporate model, to every other new thing that's come along, and everything from the discounters to the multi-level programs. They have so many options, which is great for the consumer. Commission percentages have actually come down a little bit, and that's because of competition and average sale price. But for the consumer, the seller, I think it's a great time to be in the marketplace. They had met very few models comparatively before, but today, more agents chasing same number of transactions, and you just have to be aware of that.
Yeah, and you're competing now with the internet, so agents that are now out of your market, you're now competing with back in the day,
that's totally true.
You know what I mean? Back in the day, it was this is who I got my last postcard from, or this person knocked on my door last week, or whatever. Now you're competing against Zillow, whoever they're selling your information to, your mom's cousin who's an agent in LA,
right,
or your best friend who became an agent in San Diego. We're competing against everyone in Southern California. You're competing against way more now too.
It's all the technology. The internet is one of the tools, but it's all the technologies. It's when you say the internet, it's the multiple listing that is expanded to statewide. It's blown off borders, and it's blown off local thing, which is a good thing.
I think that's a good ad. It used to be annoying when I have a client looking somewhere and I can't even look in that area.
Well, it restrained the choice of the individual, of the buyers and the sellers. They could choose that. I was on a listing appointment on Sunday in Beverly Hills, and that was a 2-hour drive. But I was just as effective there with a listing. I'm not sure I'm always effective with a buyer because of local knowledge.
Buyers is harder.
But I am very effective because I bring the same tools. So it gives the sellers more options, but it is competitive. So our business is evolved in such a manner that now consumers have more choices, more options, and the individual business person, the individual licensee, is in much more competitive environment than they were just even 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Well, and they have so many more options too. When you first started, it was Keller Williams, it was Remax, it was Century 20.
Keller Williams didn't exist.
Oh, sorry, Century 20, Remax, or whatever. Now it's million different companies, small brokerages, teams. Do I work on a team? Do I work on flat fee? Do I work at you know what I mean? There's so many more options now as agents. My number one question I always get when people hit me up is hey, I just got my license. Who do I even go work for? And I'm well, you have to find someone that fits your needs. And that might not be everyone, They even have more options. Agents do.
Well, they do. That's what I was saying earlier. The models have changed, and if it fits them. Here's the thing. The expectations have changed, too. If the 70% of all agents do 2 deals a year, 2 transactions a year, that says 2 things. One, it says that the average person can make a pretty good living on a part-time thing. If you get up to 4 or 5, you're making $60,000, $70,000 a year pretty easily on any split, on any model in the real estate. So, I've said this before on your show that commissions are set for mediocrity, and what is happening is that, if the average person can do 2 or 3 and make $30,000, and it's a hard job, but it is not for the effort invested to get the license and work and pick up a listing or 2 throughout the year. It's a pretty damn good part-time job. So you can make $30,000, but the exceptional people that do the exceptional things like you and like others. Can make an extraordinary living with an extraordinary lifestyle based on the average commission, which is now dropping. And so I always say that this industry is dynamic because it's populated with entrepreneur types, the real practitioners or entrepreneurial, the ones that realize they're in business as a small business, and they run it that way and create systems and processes that leverage their time and their money and their energy, as you do through this and others, and it lowers your cost and ups your thing. That is the true beauty of this business. Which leads us to what you're actually invited me here to talk to.
Yeah, listen, old Doug was up in Sacramento 2 weeks ago, and I think the one thing that I think a lot of agents never really know what's going on. You know, I think the hard part about real estate is like your real estate coaches, they focus on like scripts, how to close, how to do this, but like no one's ever telling you like what SB 8, 9, and 10 means. What's these new laws coming in? How is that going to affect your clients? How is this going to affect the market? Like Chris Ward down in San Diego trying to add a 25% tax on people who own houses for 3 years and trying to call it a flipper law when no one flips a house in 3 years. Like, these are the things that are going to affect your clients that I think as an agent, we need to do a better job preaching that, not just like, hey, if you're looking to buy or sell. And so the reason I have Doug on today, Doug was up there, and I'd love to know what was spoken up there and what's going on in the future of real estate in California.
Well, let's do it. First of all, it's just like, as a parent, when my daughters were younger and they complained about, oh, Dad, my car, this and that, and we're going. Well, can I get $40 to go to this thing? I'm a great parent, because if that is their worst, if that's what they're worrying about, then I'm a successful human being and a successful dad. And that's the way I feel about when I go to the national or state, and we do good work, and then nobody knows about it. What we do up there is protect. We have two mandates, really, is to protect private property rights for our consumer customers and clients, and second, to expand opportunities for our individual agents and protect their individual businesses from the onslaught of the forces that are working to curtail private property rights and curtail the entrepreneurial aspects of our business. So the first thing about it is that I've got involved over the years, and as you know, I'm in my 39th year of real estate practitioner, and we, over those years, have often just worked my tail off and not really paid attention to the industry. But I have all the tools of people that went before. The multiple listing system did not always exist. That's a 1950s, 60s model that has evolved with technology. That is not something that we did. Cooperation among realtors started in the 1920s, but it was very rudimental. So the reality is that this industry has grown in ways that support the individual that we were talking about, that individual business and that brokerage and that agent, in such a way that they're not aware of. And God bless us, if they're not aware of it, that's even better. Most agents, most brokerages, most people interaction with organized real estate is through the multiple listing system. Yeah. They have no idea. Now, they pay their board dues and they wonder what that's about. And at the end of the day, it is a lot of people that take their time and energy to support the industry that's given them a great livelihood. And here's what it is. The National Association of Realtors, the National, has 1.4 million members. And in all 50 states plus Guam and Puerto Rico, and we have members in Canada. But the National Association of Realtors exists to support its membership at all levels, and then the state. Now, we happen to live in the state of California that has 230,000 realtors, which makes us a large organization. But at the end of the day, it's the leadership there at that organization and the dues we pay and the political action monies we contribute that protect property rights and the individual. And so people like me, now I just left Sacramento 2 weeks ago. We go up there. We have 3 meetings. California Association has 3 meetings a year. They have a winter, spring, and fall. The winter and fall meetings are business meetings. But all 3 of them we meet. I serve on several committees. I'm on transaction and regulatory, which I am the transaction chair. So my job is is to meet in this committee and leadership, and then we conduct a meeting. Well, in the spring, we go up with every time we go up, we take about 2,500 people, staff meetings. Each local board has a bunch of directors. Ours has about 13. It's decided by how large your board is. So we have about 13, I'm guessing right now. And then we have staff that goes up. And each one of those directors is a voting director, California Association of Realtors voting director. So those directors go up, and so there's about 800 of us in about 23 or 4 regions. So our local boards, Inland Valleys Association of Realtors, our Inland Gateways Association of Realtors, the Southwest Association of Realtors, and even Idlewild are all part of our region. And we go as a caucus, and we address each one of those associations, sends directors that then serve on committees, subcommittees. But at the end of each week, we meet in committees and discuss issues that we'll discuss today here, and then we hash them out. We talk about them. We make decisions about the multiple listing system. We make decisions about should we support legislation? Should we propose legislation? We ask the DRE to make changes. They ask us and come to us. And so we have all of this activity going on in meetings. My typical day is I fly in on a Monday, let's say. I have a dinner with some colleagues on that night. 8 a.m. the next morning, I have a breakfast meeting. Then we have a meeting. Then I conduct a meeting. And then I go to another meeting where I'm just a member, and then we do that. And then about 3 o'clock, we have a caucus. And then after that, we have some sub-meetings sometimes. And then we go out and have dinner and start it all over the next day. In the spring meetings, we go to Sacramento, and we actually lobby our legislators. Literally, we show up, 2,300 people, and when you hit there with realtors, with the war chest that we have of almost $90 million, they take notice. So the governor comes and speaks to us, and then we break on that Wednesday, and we go visit the state legislature, our local legislatures, from Redding down to National City. Our locals, for the Corona Norco and Riverside, we select those, and we go out and meet with them, and we go through a slate of legislative items that are current at that time. So we have hot issues. If you don't, I'm going to refer to this here. Well, it's just like this. Here's what our president, Otto Katrina, who's a hell of a nice guy and from Northern California, and very competent. And he just says, look, legislative days, we haven't been there in person since 2019. It was all virtual because of the pandemic. But this year we went up, and when you walk in and 25 people walk into a state legislature's office, and he's sitting there or she's sitting there, and we make a coherent, organized, one statement that what we stand for, it takes notice.
Yeah.
And I don't care what side of the aisle that they see to be on, we walk in as what we call the Realtor Party. Mm-hmm. And we go in as the Realtor Party. Now, I have my political predilections, and so does some of the others, and we don't always agree. But on these issues, we do. Here's one that I think is fascinating. AB 2710, here's one of the hot issues. And it's no doubt that the Realtor Party is strong and united voice in for housing and property rights. And the first hot issue, AB 2710, known as the Right to First Offer bill, would severely exacerbate the housing crisis in California. And basically what it is an imposition on landlords to notify and to offer them first opportunity. It's just really a curtail on property rights. Not to get into it. We killed it, so it's not that important. But the point of it is that when we go there, we take clout, money, time, and a united position. And that united position comes when we walk in as the Realtor Party. I will tell you, there's spirited debates on the line every day in these meetings. Some of these meetings go on for 2 hours because there's 25, 30 people that go to the microphones and voice an opinion. A motion comes forward to support or reject one of our many items. There was one that you had just mentioned earlier, and now it slips.
The San Diego one with Chris Ward?
Yeah, Chris
25%. So he was trying to raise dude, I am so tired of hearing California people talk about how flippers are what's causing the housing crisis. What people don't understand is most people, houses that are flipped, the low income people wouldn't have the money to pay a hard money loan or cash for the house. So flippers are actually bringing more housing to the market that's actually for consumers. Yes, are they making a profit? Of course, but that house was a dump. Someone comes in and fixes it and actually makes it a living home for someone to live in. Like, but they think flippers, they're trying to penalize flippers, and it's like, I've had we've had clients, like I had a client, buy a house in Riverside. 8 months later, their job changed, they have to sell. That person's not a flipper, and you're gonna hit them with another. They're already paying taxes on it because they didn't stay in it for 2 years, and now you're gonna hit them with another 25% taxes. It makes no sense.
So those are the type of things we fight all the time because, one, it's a private property rights, but two, taxation in many ways can kill a marketplace. And if you'd stopped, you're absolutely right. And this is not new. I mean, Bruce Norris has been saying it for years. I was saying it in the 80s. Flippers bring a value to the marketplace by increasing the value of the housing stock and allowing these first-time buyers, particularly in our marketplace anyways, to use FHA loans that they couldn't before. And it's simple as that. And
why is there I don't know if you know this. Why is there the FHA 90-day rule? Why is that a thing? So if someone buys and flips, they can't buy it. An FHA buyer can't buy it. Why? Do you know why that is or no?
Well, it all started back in the day when things were falling apart, and it was prior to even the last recession. And it's one of those things that sounds good to protect the consumer, but the consequences hurt. And that is, that's local, state, and national government. The farther away that a government body is from you, the less they understand and the more damage they can do. But that's a whole different...
I guess that makes sense. If the market's going this way, they didn't want people to buy, be able to sell it quickly.
Right.
And then
it was a response to that. But
someone has no money that they think is lower educated, buys and then gets in trouble. And maybe because it's a government-backed loan, now they're back,
Well, one of the real things is that government, my concern is always like inflation right now. Mm-hmm. My concern is inflation. It's the reaction of local, state, and national governments, entities to make decisions to try to affect this now that, like this maybe it was relevant for a moment in time back then, but today it has no relevance.
Yeah.
And so it hurts people sometimes. So at the end of the day, what we want to do is make sure that government doesn't overreact, but we do use government as a tool. We go in and we ask people. Like here's one right now. There was the Department of Real Estate in California has really asked that we address and give feedback to them about. Then this is a simple licensing thing. About right now, if you have a 4-year degree, you can skip your 2 years of experience in real estate. To become a broker. And so somebody brought up, said, well, we have these brokers, just because you have a 4-year degree, it gives you no real world
actual real estate advice. Yes.
So they wanted to bring forward, or one of the legislature was listening to the Department of Real Estate and said, okay, well, let's make it a master's degree. If you have a master's degree, then you can skip the 2 years. Well, we hashed that out on the floor of my committee, and I was actually there running that thing. And we went through it, and at the end of the day, the realtors said, this is us, and truthfully, I don't care what your education is, you should have 2 years of experience. So they said, okay, let's make it a master's, but you have to have 2 years experience. So we rejected that law. We opposed it unless amended to say you have 2 years experience. So those are the type of things that we work for you all the time, because in reality, 2 years experience is much more valuable than a 4-year degree in any. Yeah. So,
do you think it should have been not just 2 years, but by transactions?
Well, that was a whole discussion, and we worked through that. And having 800 people on a floor discuss an issue can really vet an issue. Mm-hmm. Now, there are a lot of dumb things that get said, and there's a lot of things. But if you vet it, I'm always impressed that the majority comes up with something. If it goes through 2 committees, because that bill went through transaction and reg, then it went through legislative, the other legislative committee, and then it came to the body after it had been crafted, and then sometimes they get shot down. Mm-hmm. So we work through it. So what do I think? I think that experience always trumps anything. As a guy that barely got out of high school and I have a 2-year degree, by accident, but has had 39 years of experience. I know I wasn't a real practitioner until my 4th or 5th year because I wasn't doing enough transactions the first few years. And I would not want to... I want our business to be stronger, and that was the consensus of the body, which I agreed with. I don't always agree with the body, but I agreed with it. So I just use that as an example of something that gets vetted and something that's conceived, and they're trying to solve a problem, but we said that's not the problem. This is the problem. And so it came, and we took it back to the DRE and to the state legislation, so they're twerking it a little bit. Right now, the biggest issue, and we can talk about the different laws, but for you and and I know that this goes out, you have a good following of real estate practitioners. The reality is that the biggest issue right now is buyer brokerage.
Yeah, I mean that's what I went up there right afterwards. I was talking to some people about it, and it's like it's so crazy. It's like we've gone this long, and then now this is a big issue. And the hard part, like we were just talking about the last issue that I want to add on for a second, but like the problem with law people don't realize is like there's nothing worse as a real estate agent. I'm not a broker. I've done a handful of deals, but like when you call an agent on a house and they're a broker and they've never done a deal before, and that's who you go to, there's no one to go to, anyone above them. They're the broker. Like, so they've never done a deal before. They don't know anything about transaction. They don't know anything, and you have no one to call above them. And that's the thing that people don't get. It's like, cool, you're a broker, but you have no idea, because even your broker's license, it doesn't teach you how to do transactions in and out. So, but yeah. So why don't you deep dive more on the buyer's agreement, what they're talking about, what they're arguing about?
All right, but let me address what you just said here. One of the things is that we are constantly a self-monitoring organization.
Yeah.
I think, did you bring it up? Somebody brought up that I started, my first committee I ever served on was a grievance committee. And that was a committee where if one realtor has a grievance against another realtor, there's a formal way to submit it. It goes through the local board of realtors. It's heard. The dispute is arbitrated, or it's there's an ombudsman. There's a lot of ways that we try to do to try to self-regulate. And I think that's a great thing. And then I got through and I did some other pro standards, and I really got involved in the professional standards aspect of our thing. So we're constantly trying to do it. And that kind of thing that I just talked about with the broker, we're aware of it, and we're a self-evaluating, a self-criticizing organization because we deal with each other. We have an interesting profession. It's one of the few professions where we actually cooperate with our competitors every day in favor of our clients.
Yeah.
We cooperate with people that we're toe-to-toe with, scrapping for income, scrapping for business, trying to take market share, and then, oh, hi.
Yeah, how you doing?
How you doing? Yeah, hey, man. Hey,
yeah. It's like I just lost listening to you. Shut up.
Yeah. But here, I have a buyer for this listing, and now so when you say that you call this broker, it's our responsibility to educate and help make our business be more professional. And at the end of the day, without being self-promoting, that is why I am involved in the state, national, and local associations. This local association needed some guidance when I came up, and I thought I had some business background, and me and a great team helped make our organization better locally, which then we sent better people to the state to make better decisions. Yeah. And I just think that the average agent does not know what we do, but we want to make sure that, like I said earlier, that what we do affects every one of those. And if they don't know about us, that's probably okay.
Yeah.
Now, we did take a bunch of interns up there, and every year we take 4 or 5 people, and we expose them to the processes and what we do. We just took a couple of people that I thought got a lot out of it. So I just wanted to say that. I just said that the reason why this means something and your dues mean something is a lot. It helps a lot of structure. It helps us the day-to-day real estate practitioner affect through our dues and the systems and the staff that we have and the political action affect the outcomes of your daily business. It really does. So one of those aspects is the buyer broker agreement. Now, as you probably know, in other states, there's many states that don't allow the broker representing the seller to also represent the buyer. They literally just don't. In some states, you have to have the same broker cannot. So you have to have two different companies to actually do that in different brokerage. In California, we are allowed, through our agency laws, allowed to represent the seller or represent a buyer or represent both in a dual agency. We use the crass term of double ending because that refers to the commissions we get, but it's really an agency representation. Now, nationally, RealOG, which is the largest national, they own my company, Better Homes and Gardens, Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Century 21. They are very large. And several of theirs, like Coldwell Banker, some large organizations back east, and Keller Williams, by the way, is all being sued in lawsuit about the disclosure and transparency of buyer commissions. One of the great disputes or debates is who pays the buyer's commission, and doesn't the buyer have the right to know what that is so they may negotiate that with their representation? And that's what this comes down to in these lawsuits. In California, because I think the California Association of Realtors has fought for agency law and our disclosure system, the way we disclose when done properly, it can be can treat both parties equally if disclosed properly and both parties agree. Now, does that always happen? No. So right now, there's a huge debate. There's a working task force that's been at it for over a year about three different aspects. One, disclosure of agency. How do we disclose better? How do we our buyer broker disclosures and our buyer broker agreement is being revamped and rethought to comply with the new thinking in the marketplace of all the different entities that are attacking us on this issue. And so that's what we debated. So there's this working group that has this long list of stuff. So we debated it in almost every committee I sat on, and then it's coming back. At the end of the day, you will have a new buyer broker disclosure and buyer broker agreement, and the multiple listing will probably change how it disseminates its broker cooperation, the way it presents it.
Oh, like how it shows how much you're getting paid.
You may not even be able to see that. And or like Zillow and others, will the buyer's compensation be public record?
Yeah.
And it is in some places now.
Yeah.
Some MLSs have it. Now, as a broker of 39 years, I have no problem. You tell me if I can't negotiate my fees, then I probably shouldn't be negotiating your sale of your house. So the reality is that there will be changes coming. We're on the cutting edge of it to make sure we're not losing, not that the public's protected, but our agencies are protected, and that we're not going to turn into one of those states that you can't do both. Mm-hmm. As long as we're out in front of it and proactively saying, okay, we get why why you think this is a problem. Here's what we'll do to do this, and our membership will use these forms and use this. And by the way, I used to sit on the standard forms, and all those forms you use, all the CAR forms, I know that they grow, and I know that they're pain in the rears.
I don't touch them anyway, so it's okay.
You don't touch them, but you use them.
Yeah, I use them.
Yeah, why?
And they get longer every year.
And they get longer. And
I'm surprised they took COVID away. I thought that form was always going to be around.
They absolutely pulled it.
I thought that thing, I told, every time you had a showing, I'm like, this thing's going to be around forever. I literally thought it was going to be around forever.
And you know why that decision was made? It's because it served a purpose, but they did not want to make that a focus point of, because it creates confusion among the practitioners. And at the end of the day, they really do try to give the independent brokers and things the tools to use. My checklist in my office is long.
Yeah.
And it's what you put in a file and what an agent has to turn in, but it's always about disclosure. It's always about, and those forms, remember that every clause, every paragraph is because somebody sued somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So at the end of the day, those forms are a key factor in why you pay your dues so that you can stay out of it. The reason why my errors and omissions insurance is relatively low is because we use those forms, I enforce those forms, and when we go to defend ourselves, if we ever do, those forms help us tremendously, and it keeps people out of
hot water,
out of disputes too.
Yeah.
So back to this thing where buyer-broker agreement. I guess you asked me to talk maybe about some specifics, but I would just say that without going into too many specific laws and details, the reality is that type of thing is what we spend our time, energy, and our dedication to do. And without self-promoting or patting us all on the back, it is selfish that I get knowledge, I get to think I affect. Once in a while I go to the microphone and I'm not inarticulate, so I can help make it, but only after real consideration and consultation with people that care about our business. And so I think that we protect the public and our agent population in ways that they're not aware of, but are significant and affect them every day.
Yeah, I think it's so funny. Like, I love when when people post on stuff, my YouTube videos or whatever, people are like, oh, agents are greedy and blah, blah. It's like, at the end of the day, it's the market determines what the house sells for.
Well, that's the truth.
And if it sells for really much and you're the person that can't own a house in California, that has nothing to do with the real estate agent. I hope people realize that. The market determines. The seller determines what it sells for. I don't determine what it sells for. The seller does. They get to decide what it sells at, like if they want to sell the house or not. So it's so funny when do you feel like the lawsuit that we're in because of these things? Because like I've never had an issue. Like I've never had a seller like, oh, what am I paying the buyer? Like it's on the listing. This is what I get paid. This is what the agent gets paid. This is what it is. And then the buyers, when they go in escrow, they sign escrow they sign the docs, seeing what you're making. Do you feel like it is? I wonder if with those agents that are getting sued, are they top producing agents or are they onesies?
They're companies. They're companies. They're suing
they're suing the brokerages.
They're suing the brokerages, and it's not about the individual thing. It's about I guess the rationale is that they want to know what they're making, at the end of the day, there's a concept that the buyer is really paying the brokerage fee. I mean, by paying, if there was no brokerage fee, the seller might discount it or something. So it's just like you go to Men's Warehouse and you buy a suit. Who pays the commission of that? Well, Men's Warehouse pays it, but really it's built into the concept. So there's that. So if that's the case, and in essence, in California and most states, the seller pays it because we have this agreement. And then the cooperative broker actually pays the other broker.
Yes.
So the concept is that this is nobody's business except mine. In fact, we now disclose, but for many years we never disclosed what we paid the other brokerage. But it is important to tell the seller because what we pay the other brokerage could...
it does benefit you.
Well, it does. It could affect the
sale of the property.
The way of the marketing. And at the end of the day, what you said and what I'm really getting to is that it's the perceived value of what we do. You never have a problem with fees because when you go in, when I walk out, if I have it, I am giving value. I have proven that I'm giving some value. That 4, 5, 6, 7%, whatever it is, and it changes because it depends on the property and it depends on
There's a lot of factors into it.
What you're expected to do, but it also there's no doubt that competition. When you drive around town and you see 1% sells your home, I get those questions. Well, how does he do it? Why? What do you charge? Or if I'm in there and I am to front more. One of the things you also hire a brokerage is the financial fortitude to market your property.
Yeah.
And I'm average on at this sale price right now with the things. I'm $750 into it with photos and different things. Sometimes $1,000 on the higher end stuff if we do it. So, but anyways, the point is that our value is not. We do a very bad job as an industry of projecting what our value is because most of our agents don't know how to sell their value,
or they don't have the value to perceive, or
they, I mean, I've had agents over there. Oh, we're overpaid, and I said, really, you're overpaid?
Dude, I am underpaid.
Well, we are for
what we have to. Everyone says you're replaceable, are the people that don't do what we do.
That's absolutely true.
Like if you, like I have a new agent here and we went like, when you actually see what we deal with day in and day out and the thing and how many people you have to talk to get a deal done, and putting money into properties and then throwing money at marketing and it not working and the roller coaster of the market and getting that call at 7:00, why is my house not selling, or why is this or why is that? Like it is, until you actually have done it. You think we're overpaid? Come and do it. Because if you were overpaid, why don't you become a real estate agent?
Well, I always say this, and people don't always get it, but I say commissions are always set up for mediocrity. And so this job is really hard. But when you create systems and things, commissions have come down from the 6. Land is still a little higher. You're still
it's cheaper.
Well, it's harder.
It's harder to sell too.
It's harder to sell. And in other parts, you go to Southern Illinois, where the average sale price is still $90,000, and to make $100,000, you got to sell 50 houses. Like in 1983. I thought I died when I made $60,000. You know how many houses I had to sell to make $60,000? Now this sounds bad, but that is, that's a bad quarter now.
Well,
but the reality, but you know how many hands? Because the commissions were low, but I was doing the same job. There is a difference about what brokers supply and what they don't supply, but it to their agents now. But all I'm trying to say is that we need to project our value, but the better people make it look so easy. It's like the duck with the feet underwater. Yeah. And I love that. When people say that was easy, anybody could do it, I'd say, God bless you.
Yeah.
Just like with my daughters when they're, oh, Dad, can I get a green car instead of a white car? Really? It's a car, sweetheart. If that's your biggest, and they never said that, but because they were very grateful kids. But all I'm trying to say is that when the sellers perceive that the job's too easy, when the agents perceive that what you're doing is just, another thing, or they think you're overpriced, the truth is commissions come down based on competition, but they also based on what somebody's willing to do the job for.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now that those people that are 70% that are doing 2, if they were getting $1,000 a deal instead of 10, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Why? Because they wouldn't. When you and I make what we make and why we make it, it's because we figured out a system that leverages our time and our investment as a return on our business. Every agent I hire, all 100 of them, I talk about their business, and you better decide what your business looks like. I don't mind if you want to do 2, but the reality is that the reason why you can have a career and do 2 and make it worth it, and that's what it comes down to, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth doing it? The reason why you can do 2 is because you're going to make $30,000. You're making $15,000 on a transaction, and that's with reduced commissions.
Yeah, I just don't think people realize when you hire the right agent, you're gonna call me at the end of the year to get your tax forms because you lost it. You're gonna call me on that house, right? You're gonna call me on that house when you need something done to it. You're gonna call me 8 months after you bought a house. Hey, this broke. Okay. Well, why did it break? I don't know. Call home warranty. Home warranty's not covering it. I don't know. Like, that's what I don't think people realize. Our phone calls, I have clients that I sold and bought houses 3 years ago, and they're 5 years ago, and they still call me.
Well, thank God.
Yeah, they call. But
thank you. That's a testament.
But that's what I'm saying. But they call you for all, when you do it right, they're gonna be calling you for all their. I have tax questions. And that's why it's a great agent, why it's important to work with a great agent, is because we have so many great people around us that we don't just handle the buy and sell of your property. We're going to handle all your real estate needs moving forward for the rest of your life.
Well, that is ideal, and 85% of all sellers they would say they would relist with their agent.
Never do.
Because they can't find them.
They can't find them.
Well,
because they're out of the industry.
Well, they're either out of the industry or they just didn't stay in touch. I just picked up a listing because an agent moved away and they walked into my office and I did it. But
you had a walk-in?
Oh, I have a lot of walk-ins.
Wow.
I know.
Dude, old school. I love it.
Well, you can, pay $20,000 a month in rent too for a retail spot, and you can get a walk-in once in a while.
I agree.
Okay.
There you go. 1 month of rent right there.
Right there you go. Well, maybe.
I think that's the thing. I've always had this thing. That's why when I start getting to a point where I can be on committees and go up to Sacramento and stuff like that, like I'm gonna say, like, let's change our board fees to 10 grand a year.
Well, that conversation always happens.
Like, let's just get it as high as possible. 10 grand.
And there's a lot of talk about self-regulating and making it harder and all of that. And then I always think, would 23-year-old Doug
Oh yeah.
be able to do that? And would I be a leader in this industry after 39 years if I hadn't got into it? Because frankly, I always say I could make a living doing a lot of things.
I could too, yeah.
It would have taken a while, but
Yeah.
I'm a salesman at the core because I've spent time, energy, and money investing in me. I could go sell yachts tomorrow. I know a couple that makes $850,000 a year selling RVs at Giant RV.
I bet.
They do. So I could do a lot of things.
And you can sling them so much easier. That's the only reason I wish I wasn't in housing. Because the hard part is leads are the easy part. If you're an agent out there and you can't get leads, you're screwing up. Leads are the easiest part. But it's finding the qualified or buyers or qualified sellers. Like if I ran RVs, it'd be like, oh, you can afford $2 grand a month. We got this RV for you. That's what sucks about housing. I want to live in a Riverside and I want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and I want to pay this. Well, okay, that's impossible.
All right. Well, let me just address that for a second. You know, that couple that makes $850, they sit on that lot from 7 a.m.
Oh, I agree.
to 8 p.m.
That's the difference of us. Yes.
6 days a week.
Yeah.
Now, I'm in this business for two distinct reasons. I was lit on fire to own real estate when I was a kid, and I thought that I just loved housing. Yeah. And I always say, and I know people always say, oh, Doug, you throw out these Dougisms, if you will. But the truth is we sell home ownership, and I believe in that, and that's why I'm in this business, quite frankly. Yeah. Here's a guy, let me just tell you the story. Guy, 5 years ago, before I owned this company, bought a house from one of the agents. His name's Moises. And FHA, saved a little money, stashed it away, bought it. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, Marina Valley. We were talking about it earlier. Marina Valley. He bought that house and has lived there, and he was a day laborer, and a union guy. And then recently he's been laid off, and he tried to do his own business, and he got 2 payments behind. He walks back into the office. The agent that had sold it to him is out of the business, out of the area. I looked him up on the internet. I looked him up on my roster, and then I looked him up on the DRE, and he'd moved to Laverne or something. And I said, "Look, man, I can help you." And I told him my story, and I said, "So we go over there." He owes $260,000, 2 payments back. Now he's 3-pack, and we're in escrow. We're about to close. He just sold it for $490.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you, he was stressed, and I said, "Moises, God bless you. What are you going to do with the money?" Because I was concerned that he'd get a couple $100 grand and piss it away or something, because he's not really prepared to buy it. And he goes, "Nope, I'm going to buy this. I already got it. I'm going to buy this little trailer, and my son and I are going to live there until he finishes high school next year. And in the meantime, I'm going to buy a heavy equipment. I forget what it is. It's like a big." And he says, "I already have my license, and I want to be in business for myself." And I go, "What is that going to cost?" And he goes, "About 110. And I go, "So you're going to have 110. You're going to have a little cash in the bank, and you're going to be your own boss, and this is going to change your life." I go, "Moises, what if you hadn't bought this house 5 years ago?" He'd be homeless.
Yeah.
He would be homeless. He would be on that is why we're in this business,
That's
Adam.
ownership.
And we can talk about, because we can make money doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
I've known you a while. You could take this and apply your desires, skills, and background to something else, and you could do well. That's why they say, 39 years, and they go, "Oh, Doug, why aren't you retired?" Well, I do a lot of different things, and
why retire?
And I've diversified. Well, but I've diversified. Yeah. But the point is that when I can help Moises buy this house, help him find him, and he told me the other day, I took care of, we negotiated the deal. He wanted to take this one day. I said, don't take this, take this. And it was my experience and my timing that's gratifying. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that that's what a good, experienced, of those 210,000 realtors that separate themselves from the 400,000 licensees, of the 100,000 that practition, and then the 1 or 2%, the couple of 20, 40, 30,000 that go out and do what I did and you do every day and don't worry about the commission. The reality about commissions just pisses me off a lot.
Well, what's funny is guys like us, we don't worry about it. But the guys that do 1 and 2, they're so concerned about it,
right?
Because that's all they know they're going to do,
right?
And so they need the highest commission. They're gonna, It's so sad that people don't realize when I've seen Calhaffa buyers on my listings and their agents hitting them with a $500 transaction fee on a Calhaffa loan.
I know.
And I'm like, are you serious, dude? Like, he can't even afford this house and you're hitting him with a $500 transactional fee so you don't have to pay it? And you're getting 2.5% or 2% or whatever it is.
Well, I'm not judging on those. Everybody runs their business in such a way that they run their business. But I get what you're saying about, do we care about the clientele? At the end of the day, here's an interesting thing. Since we've been talking about commissions, and we have to be careful because we're not saying what commissions should be as brokers, and we're not colluding or anything. But at the end of the day, I remember when, and before your day, quite frankly, where you take a 6 or 7% commission and give 4 or 5% to the buying agent.
Because you had to.
Because and why? And today there are 5 and 6% commissions where the buying agent's getting 2 and we're keeping 3 or 4, and that happens sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. They're not always equal. And people say, well, why aren't? And I say, well, back in the day, your buyer was worth more than my listing. Today, my listing is worth more than your buyer. And that sounds brutal, but it's a business decision. The cost for me to obtain that listing, maintain it, bring it to the marketplace is a cost. That's a hard cost. And it is more expensive to market today, now, unless you choose to and market the way you market, but it is still more expensive. To invest in this is part of the cost of that listing. And there will be a day when the buyers, then it changes and we'll be giving Corvettes, and we'll be doing that. So as far as commissions go, it's set for mediocrity. It'll always rise to the level where the average person will do the average commission and will work for that. But for guys like you and I and guys that I admire out there, and women and men that I admire out there, the reality is that this business is dynamic because it's entrepreneurial, it's time and money leverage, and with the right systems and in place, you can make an extraordinary income and have an extraordinary lifestyle. And once you decide that it's your business and you're going to run it the way you want to, but that business is a business, not just a mechanism to make a commission or to help 1 or 2 people, then the industry will grow because we'll have more professionals. So, and that's why I'm involved with the California Association of Realtors, because quite frankly, I went for 5 days, wore myself out, was sick when I got back. And because I put in so much time and energy, but because I care about the industry and I also care about home ownership, and that ain't just bullshit. That is how I feel, and it's why I'm still here, and it's why I agree to come sit here with you and talk about this stuff, because if we don't say it, who the hell's going to say it?
I agree. That's a great way to end it, Doug. I love it.
Amen.
Doug, I always appreciate your time, man. I've toot your horn all the time. You're one of my favorite people in the industry, and I think sometimes newer agents, they look at, oh, that guy does 600 million, 700 million, whatever, but it's like, there's a lot of those people that suck in the industry, and I think it's if people haven't realized by now, you're one of the best. So I appreciate you always being my friend and coming on here. Until next time, guys, peace.